It started as a normal evening, just like any other. The smell of Mom's home-cooked dinner filled the house. The TV hummed in the background, and laughter echoed from my little brother's room. Everything felt normal, safe. But little did I know, that night would change my entire world forever. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't suspicious. If anything, I had always seen my parents as the perfect couple, married for over 20 years, still holding hands when they walked through the grocery store, always making inside jokes that no one else understood. I used to think their love was unbreakable, a love that could survive anything. But I was wrong. It all started when I needed to print something for school. Our family printer had been acting up, so I decided to use Mom's laptop instead. She wasn't home at the time, but I figured it wouldn't be a big deal. I opened it, clicked on the browser, and that's when I saw it. An email left open on the screen. At first, I wasn't paying attention. It looked like one of those regular message notifications, the kind that pop up all the time. But then I saw the subject line. It simply read, "I miss you." My heart started pounding, but I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe it was an old email. Maybe it was from an old friend. But as my eyes skimmed through the message, my hands started to shake. The words were intimate, loving, the kind of words that weren't meant for my father. My mind raced as I scrolled further, realizing this wasn't just one email. There were dozens, some recent, some from months ago. Messages full of affection, plans to meet in secret, whispered promises that made my stomach turn. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This was my mother, the woman who tucked me in at night when I was little, the woman who always told me honesty was the most important thing in the world, and here she was, living a lie right in front of us. I shut the laptop, my hands trembling. My thoughts were a whirlwind. Was I imagining this? Could there be some explanation? Should I even tell anyone? I felt trapped between the truth and the fear of what it would do to our family. My dad, my little brother, they had no idea, and I was suddenly carrying a secret too big for me to handle. Just then, I heard the front door open. Mom was home. My stomach twisted into knots as her footsteps echoed through the hallway. Did she know I had seen it? Should I confront her right now or pretend I knew nothing? My heart pounded louder with every step she took closer to the room. And then she walked in, smiling, like nothing had happened, like our world wasn't about to fall apart. I had a choice to make. Do I say something? Or do I stay silent and let the secret destroy us from the inside? She stood in the doorway, keys in one hand, her purse slung over her shoulder, completely unaware that my entire world had just cracked in half. "Hey, honey," she said, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Everything okay?" I swallowed hard, forcing myself to nod. My hands were still shaking, but I tucked them under the table, hoping she wouldn't notice. My mind was screaming at me to say something, to demand an explanation, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just sat there, staring at her, searching her face for any sign of guilt. But there was nothing. She looked like the same mom I had known my whole life. How could someone hide something so big and still act so normal? She set her things down and started talking about her day, something about running errands, picking up groceries, and a conversation she had with a neighbor. I barely heard a word of it. My brain kept replaying the emails over and over, trying to make sense of them. Was this recent? How long had this been going on? Did Dad know? Dinner that night felt like a scene from a movie where I was the only one who knew the truth. Dad sat at the table, joking about work, while my little brother talked about a new video game he was obsessed with, and Mom, she just smiled, nodding along, laughing at all the right moments. It made me sick. I couldn't understand how she could sit there, pretending to be the perfect wife, the perfect mom, while secretly living a double life. Every time she looked at Dad, I felt my stomach twist. Did she feel guilty? Did she ever think about what this would do to him? To us? I wanted to scream, to shake her, to ask her why she would risk everything. But I stayed silent. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning. What was I supposed to do now? If I told Dad, it would destroy him. If I kept quiet, I'd be lying to him every day. And then there was Mom. Was she planning to leave? Was she still seeing this person? I needed answers, but I had no idea how to get them without blowing everything apart. One thing was clear: I couldn't look at her the same way anymore, and I wasn't sure if I ever would again. The days that followed felt like a blur. Every time I saw Mom, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. I started noticing little things I had never paid attention to before. The way she always kept her phone close, how she'd step out onto the porch for certain calls, how she sometimes came home later than usual with vague excuses. Had she always been this way, or was I only seeing it now because I knew what to look for? I wanted to believe there was some explanation, something that would make this all a huge misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew the truth, and it was eating me alive. I started avoiding her as much as I could, but she noticed. "You've been quiet lately," she said one evening, watching me closely. "Something on your mind?" For a split second, I almost blurted it out. I wanted to see her reaction, to hear what she had to say. But I held back. If I confronted her, she might lie, or worse, she might tell me the truth, the kind of truth I wasn't ready to hear. Meanwhile, Dad was completely unaware. It felt wrong, keeping something this big from him. He trusted her, he loved her, and I was stuck in the middle, forced to carry a secret I never asked for. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Mom got a call while I was in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard the way her voice changed, softer, almost nervous, and then, just before she walked away, I caught a single sentence that sent a chill through me. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this a secret." My heart stopped. She wasn't just hiding something, she was planning something. The second I heard those words, my entire body tensed. I stood frozen in the kitchen, my mind racing. What was she talking about? What secret was she struggling to keep? Was it about the affair? Or was there something even worse? I crept toward the hallway, heart pounding, trying to hear more. But by the time I got close, the conversation had ended. I barely made it back to the kitchen before she walked in, her phone still clutched tightly in her hand. She glanced at me, her expression unreadable, but there was something in her eyes, like she knew I had heard something I wasn't supposed to. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers. I waited until everyone was asleep before sneaking downstairs. Mom's laptop was still in the living room, exactly where she always left it. My hands shook as I opened it, my stomach twisting with nerves. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, but I had to know the truth. I clicked into her email, scrolling through messages until I found one that made my breath catch. It wasn't just the usual sweet words or secret meeting plans. This was different. It was urgent. A message from the same person, with a subject line that sent chills down my spine. "We can't hide this forever." My pulse pounded in my ears as I read through it. It wasn't just an affair. There was something more. A decision had been made. Something big was about to happen. And whatever it was, it had the power to destroy our family completely. Just then, I heard a creak from the stairs. I spun around, my heart nearly stopping. Mom was standing there in the darkness, watching me. Her face was calm, but her eyes told a different story. "You shouldn't be looking at that," she said softly. In that moment, I realized something terrifying. She knew I knew, and now I had no idea what she was going to do about it. For a moment, neither of us moved. The glow from the laptop screen flickered across Mom's face, highlighting the tension in her eyes. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure she could hear it. I had been caught, but instead of yelling or demanding to know what I had read, she just stared at me, her expression unreadable. "I can explain," she finally said, her voice quiet. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think there was some logical reason behind all of this, some way she could make it all make sense. But I had seen too much. The emails, the phone calls, the way she had been acting. There was no innocent explanation for any of it. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "And what are you hiding?" She sighed, running a hand through her hair. For the first time, she looked scared. Not guilty, not angry, just afraid. Before she could answer, a sound from outside made us both freeze. A car engine, slow, approaching the house. Mom's eyes widened. She rushed to the window, peeking through the curtains. I moved beside her, my breath catching as I saw headlights glowing through the darkness. The car didn't pull into the driveway. It just sat there, watching. "Is that him?" I asked, feeling a cold chill run down my spine. She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed her phone and started typing frantically. I could see the panic in her movements now, the way her fingers trembled as she hit send. "Mom, what's going on?" My voice cracked. She turned to me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. "I never meant for you to get involved," she whispered. "But now, I don't know if I can keep you safe." I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't just about an affair. It was something much bigger, something dangerous. And I had no idea what was coming next. The tension in the room was suffocating. My mind raced with possibilities, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. The car outside didn't move. It just sat there, its headlights cutting through the night. Mom clenched her phone, her breathing uneven, like she was waiting for something or someone. Then the front door handle rattled. A jolt of fear shot through me. Mom grabbed my wrist, her grip tight. "Go upstairs," she whispered. But I couldn't move. I was frozen in place, my heart pounding in my chest. Before I could react, the door swung open. A tall man stepped inside, his face shadowed by the dim hallway light. He wasn't a stranger. I had seen him before, at the grocery store, outside my school. I had never thought much of it, but now I realized the truth. He hadn't just been passing by. He had been watching us. Mom stepped in front of me. "You weren't supposed to come here," she said, her voice shaking. The man's eyes flickered to me, and for a moment, everything clicked. This wasn't just an affair. It was blackmail. He knew something about Mom, something she had been desperately trying to keep from us. And now, he was here to collect. "I did everything you asked," Mom pleaded. "Please, just leave my family out of this." The man's lips curled into a smirk. Too late. Suddenly, the sound of tires screeching broke the silence. Bright blue and red lights flooded through the windows. The police. Mom turned to me, tears in her eyes. "I was never cheating," she whispered. "I was trying to protect you." And just like that, everything I thought I knew shattered. Chaos erupted all at once. The flashing lights outside grew brighter as officers stormed through the door, weapons drawn, shouting commands. The man barely had time to react before they tackled him to the ground. Mom stepped back, trembling, her face pale. I stood there, frozen, trying to process everything. As the officers cuffed him, one of them turned to Mom. "We got your message just in time," he said. "You did the right thing." I looked at her, my mind spinning. She had called them. That last text she sent, it wasn't to him, it was to the police. Slowly, the pieces of the puzzle started to come together. Mom hadn't been having an affair. She had been caught in something far worse. This man had been blackmailing her for months, threatening to hurt our family if she didn't do what he wanted. She had been playing along, trying to protect us, waiting for the right moment to stop him. Tears welled up in my eyes. I had spent weeks believing the worst about her, but the truth was, she had been fighting for us the entire time. After the police took him away, the house felt eerily quiet. Mom turned to me, exhaustion and relief washing over her face. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered, "but I was so scared he'd find out. I didn't know what to say, so instead, I just hugged her." That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. My world had almost fallen apart, but in the end, Mom had saved it. And for the first time in weeks, I finally felt safe again.